Peace and blessings to the family. It is me, Coach 67 Sports TV. Shout out to the awesome and amazing LDBC, Lions Den Broadcasting Community. Shout out to the Louisiana All-American Sports Network. And shout out to the greatest university in the world, the greatest university on God's green earth, the Southern University, home of the mighty Jaguars. This is the Tailgate Party, Season 1, Episode 20. We getting ready to pop it off, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. You dig? Okay, let's get the party started. Before we see who we got in the chat, let's go through the description real quick. Welcome to the Tailgate Party, Season 1, Episode 20 on Coach 67 Sports TV. In this live stream, we break down the latest Southern University Jaguar football news as Marshall Faulk continues to build his coaching staff and secure key recruiting commitments. What does this mean for the future of Southern football and the SWAC? We're talking about HBCU football recruiting movement, coaching philosophy, and expectations moving forward. We'll discuss Southern University football program updates, Marshall Faulk's impact on recruiting, HBCU football and SWAC storylines, roster building and staff additions, fan reactions and community discussion. This is a live tailgate party, so tap in, join the chat, and share your thoughts with Coach 67 Sports TV community. If you love HBCU sports, Southern University, and real-time football talk, you're in the right place. All content is done by yours truly, proud supporter of Jaguar Nation, the Human Jukebox, and just the HBCU content creation space in general. Join the conversation, subscribe to the channel, like, share, subscribe, and let's see who we have in the building after that description. Salute, motivation to be a millionaire. Salute to your family. He said, salute Coach 67, chat, HBCU family, and Jaguar Nation. Salute to you. Motivation to be a millionaire. He said, ready for tonight's show. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And then, of course, always finishing up with Go Jags. And somebody asked me, man, Coach, what is Go Jags? Go Jags is the equivalent to Roll Tide. But, that's what we say in Jaguar Nation. Go Jags. You did? Salute to relaxing, calming rain. Relaxing, calming rain said. Salute Coach 67, chat, HBCU family, and Jaguar Nation. He said, I missed Twitter Spaces conversation, but I know you will fill us in. Of course I will. You already know. I was in that thing, you know what I'm saying? And he put, Go Jags. Salute to your relaxing, calming rain. Go Jags, you dick. Man, salute to my brother, Jared 11 Green, from the Southern Baller Show, from HBCU Fanatics. He put salute. Salute to your fam. Salute to my brother. Your boy Jay, salute coach. And go Jags. Yes, sir. Let's see. Man, salute to Adrian Crook. Salute to your family. Uh, your boy Jay said, Coach Faulk hired LSU special teams coordinator. Ahmad Anan and hired former Eagles and LSU Tiger Benny Logan as the defensive line coach. Yep, you kind of beat me. You kind of beat me to the punch, your boy Jay, especially when it comes to Benny Logan. But of course, Benny Logan, that's a huge pickup for Coach Faulk. I mean, he has a lot of former NFL players. He has connections to both New Orleans and Baton Rouge and the I-10 corridor. And basically, they have done an excellent job, not just recruiting or pursuing kids locally, but nationally, really. And really, Southern University is garnering a lot of attention. Uh, Salute to T. Gaddis II, Go Jags. We on the prowl. Oh, you already know. Without question, T. Gaddis II, salute to you. Teldron Leathers, salute, coach. Salute to your fam. One of the day one supporters, day one subscribers. He put Coach Faulk working. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. Coach Faulk is definitely, without question, Coach Faulk is putting in work. There's no two ways about it. Adrian Crook said, man, I ain't going to lie. Faulk moving better than I expected. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be honest with you, Adrian Crook. He doing big things, like big things. I mean, if I said anything else, I'll be lying. And if he exceeding, if he exceeding expectations in my mind thus far, it's gonna be interesting to see how things actually play out during the season because he doing big things. Uh, he's putting together a way better coaching staff than I anticipated. He basically uh he put together a way better coaching staff than I expected. And in addition to that, like he making great moves in terms of the players he's bringing in, getting them the upgrade facilities. Of course, we talked about Tony Clayton and his contributions on Saturday and how he's definitely doing his level best to move the program forward. So at the end of the day, truthfully speaking, like it's it's a lot of excitement around Jaguar Nation. And I'm not gonna lie, Coach Falk is doing his thing, and uh, it's just it's kind of a sight to behold. You know what I'm saying? Uh, T. Gaddis the second say some grind, same grind, different day. Can't take a day off if you want to pay off. Yeah, can't take a day off if you want to pay off. And clearly, T. Gaddis the second, he is clearly subscribing to that notion, to that mindset, to that philosophy, to that ideology. Because I'm not gonna lie, it's boots on the ground. I mean, he got boots on the ground all across the country. He's brought in some high profile assistant coaches. So I'm not gonna lie, like he is doing big things. And even if you look at, hey, you want somebody that has ties to Southern, that played ball at Southern, him getting Anthony Balancier to be the defensive back coach. I'm not gonna lie, like he is doing his thing. You know what I'm saying? Russell Smith, he said, salute to your coach, salute to your Russell Smith. He said, do you think this long term or we will see Coach Falk and staff 3 to 4 years depending on success? I think that's the major determining factor. Russell Smith. I think if he just knocks it out the park and he really, 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 really does his thing. The same way Colorado came calling for Deion Sanders, like some big, high profile, powerful PWIs are gonna come calling. Maybe mid-major, like the institution he went to, like San Diego State, or maybe even bigger name schools. Either way, like he is doing his thing, and more than likely, if it translates into the type of success in a couple of years, the way I think it would, or even sooner than that, then yeah, especially if he win a Celebration Bowl year one and he just doing his thing, yeah, it's up. He probably out the door at some point. And my only question would be, who would be his replacement in terms of heir apparent, is in terms of being the next head coach of Southern. So yeah, your boy Jay said Armand Anad was a special teams coach for Grambling under Hugh. They led the SWAC in yards and touchdowns, and he coached the 1,000-yard rusher who was at Texas Southern in 2023. The guy's good. All right. I mean, that's a good thing. You know what I'm saying? And T. Gaddis II said, uh, big moves indeed. Yes, sir. Yeah, like Coach Faulk is making big moves. He is doing his thing. And just to kind of go back to what relaxing, calming rain was saying, he said he missed the Twitter Spaces conversation, but he know I'm gonna fill us in. Yeah, I'm about to fill you in right now. Your boy Jay say I saw Ryan Staub from Colorado hit the portal today. I got my eyes on him. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see, if or how many Colorado players he actually brings in, especially if he has a relationship with them, and not only if he has a relationship with them, but if they can actually play. Like those two things are a good combination. But back to what relaxing, calming rain was saying. Last night there was a Twitter Spaces conversation, and a lot of people was in it. From my understanding, St. Aug quarterback and Southern University commit Vashawn Ted Couillon, he like orchestrated it and organized it, and Al and Reggie put it together. Salute to them. And I'm not gonna lie, this was an amazing idea. And basically, all of the players that have committed to Southern University, Al and Reggie, they got them. They got them. They got all the players to come to the Twitter Spaces. A lot of individuals like myself, my brother Jay Good, um, Carlos Brown, just a lot of hardcore, diehard members of Jaguar Nation, from all over the country. We hopped on the Twitter Spaces conversation, and basically, they talked at like every commit, like the 15, 16 commits, every last one of them came through. It goes to show you how Sean Couillon, St. Aug quarterback, even though he's a senior high school, this young man has excellent leadership for him to orchestrate that and pull that together. And basically, I think it was like an excellent idea from the perspective of it was able to familiarize members of Jaguar Nation with the new incoming players, and we welcomed them in. And, basically each player was asked, you know, what do they think they bring to the table, that type of thing. What's the expectations? What's the main thing they look forward to when they get to Baton Rouge? Especially those individuals from like Chicago and from across the country, from the West Coast, from you got a player from the Valley, Joe Vallejo. So I mean, basically, they asked all of the recruits, not let me phrase it, not recruits, the players that have committed, all those committed Southern University Jaguar players. Basically, they asked them like, a line of questions from the perspective of like, hey, what you think you're gonna bring to the team, what you looking forward to once you get the Baton Rouge, get on campus. In addition to that, it just was a good conversation from the standpoint of, we talked about HBCU culture. HBCU culture was definitely discussed, and it was talking about how, not just Southern University, but HBCU culture, at all HBCUs, whether you're talking about Southern, Grambling, Jackson State, FAMU, Howard, Hampton, wherever, South Carolina State, PV, Alcorn, like wherever. Like HBCU culture is a special thing. But they was talking about how Southern University is a special place. They talk about how, Southern University has a rich history, is a prestigious blue blood in terms of HBCU football, and basically restoring a legacy, how it's an international brand, and how one brick at a time they rebuilding Jaguar Nation. And these young men basically, they're talking about, coming in right away and contributing and doing big things. And of course, they asked like a variety of different questions, like which state has, each player was asked this question. And essentially, they asked like, which state has the best high school football? Every last one of them said the state that they're from. And they were saying how, certain areas are really slept on in terms of, football. Like the city of Chicago is very, very, very slept on. And at the end of the day, I'm not gonna lie, I was thoroughly impressed with each player, getting up on the Twitter spaces. And it was a real, real amazing, phenomenal, excellent conversation. The young men were well spoken. And before they even step foot on campus, they already representing Jaguar Nation well. Coach Faulk has done an excellent job in terms of the caliber and quality of players that he brought in. And from what I'm seeing, not just the caliber of football players, but the caliber of young men they were. I was thoroughly impressed. I was very pleased. And I'm not going to lie, I was happy with the way things played out. And it was a real dope conversation. I didn't get on stage and say things or whatever, but a lot of individuals, they basically, they profess their love for Southern University, and they talking about how Southern University is just not just a local brand, not just a regional brand, but it's a national brand. You have individuals from all over the country that graduated from Southern University, and they talked about how if these young men, like if they have any issues, reach out to the local, you know, alumni federation, their local alumni chapter, this type of thing. Get connected with people. People like if they have any issues while on campus, hey, we can help you with this, we can help you with that. But overall, it was just an excellent and amazing conversation. I was thoroughly pleased. I was very impressed, and everything went well. Your boy Jay say very well spoken players. I was impressed. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I was very, very, very impressed. Your boy Jay. It was an excellent conversation, and I'm not gonna lie. Shout out to Tig for being a real leader as a senior in high school. Pulling that together, orchestrating that whole thing. And Al and Reggie did a great job hosting it. Supposedly they're gonna talk about it more on the Southern University Quarterback Club podcast. But I'm not gonna lie, it was a great conversation. Your boy Jay say I saw all you guys in there. It was definitely a packed house. Oh yes, I'm not gonna lie. At one point, I saw like 60 people, and evidently, Twitter Spaces can only show you so many people at a time. But it definitely was a packed house. It definitely was a great conversation. Hey, I was very impressed. But more than anything, I'm not gonna lie. After that conversation last night, I'm excited about the upcoming season, and we only in December. We at the end of December. It's a long way to August. Like I'm interested to see like what does Coach Falk and staff do during the second phase of the portal that's gonna open up pretty soon. Like I am eagerly anticipating some of the moves he's gonna make. How much of the roster is gonna return. How much turnover? Like, is it, you know, are they gonna keep like the vast majority of the players that's on the roster? Or basically he gonna purge the roster the way Tremaine Jackson did last year at PV when he took over. So it's gonna be interesting to see how things play out. Getting ready to move to some different comments. Uh, Russell Smith said, "Coach, I'm truly excited about Southern University football. This ain't the same good old boy stuff that we used to do." Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Jay Good and I have been talking about that. The thing that like he and I really talked about that we really were impressed by from the perspective of like it's not the same old like go along to get along type of crap. It's not the same, like you said, good old boy network. It's not the same old nepotism and favoritism and you scratch my back, I'm gonna scratch your back. The way you were operating, the way you were doing business, you could no longer sustain that business model and get back to where you want it to be. So basically, they moved in a different direction and they got with the times. And not only that, I saw this, Jay Good and I was talking about this, you know, I saw somebody, this was an older gentleman, and initially they weren't happy with the Marshall Faulk hire. And basically, this older gentleman, he basically was like, "Hey, I think it was a great move, and in terms of the way Coach Faulk is moving, like I'm very impressed." But he was like, more than anything, it was time for Southern to be forward thinking and get with the times. And he was saying, when it comes to the NIL collective, and when it comes to fundraising and raising money and reestablishing and rebuilding Southern University's brand, like this route was the way to go. But there's still a lot of work to be done, not just from getting players and getting coaches, upgrading facilities. But he was saying like Southern University from a business perspective, in terms of fully reestablishing and fully rebuilding their brand, and not only that, but 10xing it and taking it to another level in another stratosphere. You know, Coach Richardson did great things. Coach A.W. Mumford did great things way back in the gap. But more than anything, he was saying Southern needs to elevate to a level beyond anything we've ever seen in our lifetime. And he was like, we can accomplish that, but it's going to take some forward thinking individuals to get Southern University where they really need to be. And I was in 100% agreement all the way. Stay focused. Salute. He got the smiling emoji. Salute to you. Your boy Jay said, what I love the most, none of them took a visit on campus. They heard about Marshall Faulk and heard about the culture. Yeah, and that was like a recurring theme. Either the players were, when they say, hey, I had an opportunity to play for Coach Faulk, they jumped at it and they said, all right, hey, he gonna be the head coach of Southern? Boom, I'm going. And then other individuals, they heard about the culture in terms of HBCU culture, Southern University. A couple of them was, saying how Southern University is a special place, this, that, and the third, and they haven't even stepped foot on campus. They was like, they can't wait to get on the yard, they can't wait to get on the bluff, so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, like it just was a dope conversation, an amazing conversation, a captivating conversation. And I just was so impressed and pleased with the way these young men handle themselves, and not only that, not only where they handle themselves in terms of being well spoken and talking about what they could bring to the table individually. A lot of these individuals already out the gate, they were saying they were extremely unselfish from the standpoint of, hey, in high school, I played this position. But if Coach Faulk and they staff, they wanted me to move here or do this or do that, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. And I'm like, man, I'm already liking what I'm hearing across the board from all of these young men. Russell Smith said, any word on Trey Holly staying or leaving, I feel with having a Hall of Fame running back as your coach, it can be a good thing. No, from what I'm understanding, he definitely staying. Tony Clayton talked about that on Saturday on the Carlos Brown show. Like I said again, shout out to Carlos Brown and his panel. They talked to Tony Clayton, and basically Jackson State was trying to poach Trey Holly away from Southern, but Tony Clayton put up the bread. He put up the money to keep Trey Holly on the bluff and on the yard. So, yeah, he's definitely going to be staying. Your boy Jay say Trey Holly staying. Tony Clayton took care of it. Yeah, he did. He did. And he was telling your boy Jay, thank you. Yeah, he, we talked about it Saturday, and, Jackson State has what? If I'm not mistaken, I think they have like 25 players in the portal, I think, as we speak. And, I was watching Architect TV. I think Jay Good sent me like his video. And basically on the video, he was talking about how, he not saying that Jackson State and Alabama State gonna fall off, but he was saying how Alabama State, they lost all of their top like offensive weapons. And not only that, but he was talking about Jackson State from the standpoint of, three of the best offensive linemen in the portal. Ahmad Miller in the transfer portal, Travis Terrell Jr. All 11 starters on defense is in the portal. And basically he was saying he don't think Jackson State is going to fall off. However, he basically was saying that he thinks that it's going to be a tall mountain to climb for. And I'm paraphrasing what he's saying, so don't say I misquoted him. I'm just paraphrasing. And basically he was saying that Jackson State is going to be hard pressed to get back to where they've been the past couple seasons. And basically, he's not saying they're going to fall off, but it's going to be interesting to see if Jackson State and Alabama State actually does fall off, because you don't lose this amount of key players and this amount of talent, and there's no drop off. And not only that, but he was talking about how he was impressed, with the players Southern has gotten thus far, and he's going to be very watchful and keeping a watchful eye on Southern University in terms of what they're going to do in a few days when the second wave of the transfer portal opens up. Basically was saying like, hey, like Southern might be the team to watch in the SWAC. So the fact that, other individuals and other entities are intrigued about what Southern University and Coach Faulk is doing, like it speaks volume about the direction that the program is moving in, and all of the good things Southern University is doing and all of the things they're gonna do. I mean, if they're doing what they're doing at this point, I'm definitely intrigued to see what Coach Faulk is gonna do once the transfer portal opens. Your boy Jay say Jackson State fans been crashing out ever since all script leaked that they have no money. No, and that's the crazy thing about it. Like, not just that, but the top comment in Architect TV's comment section was like, hey, TC Taylor, he brought those players in. So it's gonna be, I'm paraphrasing what the comment was, but basically was saying if he got those players, he's gonna be able to get players to replace all of the players that left. I'm saying, I mean, don't get me wrong, every single player for Jackson State that's in the transfer portal. Every last one of them wasn't the starter. Every last one of them was in the key contributor. However, you do have several high profile players, key contributors, starters, first team all SWAC type players that's in the portal. And like it's difficult to constantly replace those type of players year in and year out. So it's definitely gonna put Coach TC Taylor to the test. But he was saying for this time of year, he was saying like the last couple of years, like Jackson State has been extremely active during this time of year. However, basically what he was saying is like Coach Taylor and Jackson State is pretty quiet at this point. You know what I'm saying? Russell Smith said, really, Coach? JSU tried to go after Holly? Bro, my hate for JSU goes deep. That program can die. Yeah, they did. They actually went after him. And that's the irony, too. You know, they was talking about, uh, one thing that's really kind of been moving around these SWAC streets and these different Facebook groups I'm in, like, SWAC beef and roughing the SWAC and that type of thing. How basically Jackson State is, losing a ridiculous amount of money and they're in the hole because they have to constantly like dump money in the renovations in terms of the vet, not renovations, but maintenance and the upkeep of it. And, part of it is in terms of HBCUs do not get the fair amount of funding that they should. And, I kind of talked about it and touched on it Saturday. So, they was talking about the 1400 collective, this type of thing, but basically like GSU doesn't have any money. A lot of people been talking about that. That's part of the reason why so many players are in a transfer portal, and there's a lot of other things going on behind the scenes. Like I really don't get that deep into it. I just see other people conversing about it and having these type of conversations. But it's ironic how they were saying how none of Southern University players, would be a starter for Jackson State, but yet they tried to get Trey Holly. And it goes to show you how talented Trey Holly is. The fact that JSU really went after him, it would have been a big a big move for them if they would have been able to pull it off. But I'm glad Tony Clayton was able to, you know, give him the cheese he wanted to keep him on the yard and keep him on the bluff. So I'm thrilled about the prospects of the prospects of Southern University is a team moving forward. Your boy JC, let's remember Jackson State was the same people who said our players are trash and nobody could start for them, but they tried to throw money they didn't have at our best player. Yeah, that's crazy. That is crazy. And Adrian Crook said nobody, they don't own it. No, they don't own the vet. They don't. They don't own the vet. I wasn't saying it was they own it, Adrian Crook. I was just saying that, you know, people talk about how much of a dump it is, and not only that, but the fact that they constantly have to put up money for maintenance of it, whatever. And basically across the board, like they in a hole. Of course, I see Adrian Cook and Merlin Alexis and different members of Jaguar Nation talking about how these GSU fans, they arrogant, they talking all this trash about their football program. But basically, like, look, hey, y'all ain't got no money, y'all broke. And Adrian Cook be on his helmet in these different Facebook groups. Man, shout out to Adrian Cook, man. Adrian Cook be on him. Uh, your boy Jay say Jackson State people post about Marshall Faulk more than we do. This isn't Terrence Graves and Dooley anymore. They are terrified of us. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I talked about how one of the Jackson State fans, they posted something about FAMU hiring Quinn Gray and Southern University hiring Marshall Faulk. And they was like, man, look, hey, you know, basically Jackson State is D team and D this and D that and da 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 da. And I'm like, bro, like FAMU fans and Southern fans really hadn't been going at JSU like that. But I understand it's the back and forth, it's the camaraderie, it's the rivalry. I'm here for it. And then of course, you got people like Adrian Cook in these different Facebook groups. Adrian Cook want all the smoke. And Adrian Cook and Merlin and Lexi, man, they were letting them JSU fans have it. And speaking of Terrence Graves, your boy G, I'm gonna talk about Terrence Graves in a little bit too. Adrian Cook said they have to pay all that before they make a profit. Yeah, and that's the crazy thing about it. That's the reason why they don't have no money. And basically, like some JSU fans were talking about, like from a funding standpoint, like they don't get the funding that they should compared to like Ole Miss and Mississippi State and so on and so forth. And I'm like, yeah, it's not just that. I talked about it here on this channel that the state of Louisiana, I read this article a while back, and they basically was saying that the state of Louisiana owes Southern University over $1 billion. And essentially, it's equivalent to reparations. Like they owe Southern University a ridiculous amount of money. We know this is money that Southern University is not going to get. And not only that, but they were saying in a region, like in the southeastern region. So this not only includes Southern, Grambling, Jackson State, Mississippi Valley, Alcorn State, Alabama State, Alabama A&M. Like basically HBCUs in totality are owed over $12 billion. And I'm like, damn. Like, they talk about how much money the state owes Southern, but we know they don't owe LSU not one red cent because LSU gets everything they're supposed to get, they won't get, they desire from a funding standpoint. And I understand comparing LSU and comparing Southern are like comparing apples and oranges. The only similarities that there is that they are both fruit. However, people like Tony Clayton fight for Southern, and he was saying that, hey, the governor, he gotta, kick money Southern way. Like he been doing a good job, but he gotta keep kicking out that bread. And not only that, he was saying the different lawyers in Baton Rouge, yeah, they make contributions to LSU, but hey, you got to make contributions to Southern because essentially you getting rich off of black people in Baton Rouge and in the state of Louisiana. So I'm not gonna lie, like, shout out to Tony Clayton. He really, he doing his thing. You know what I'm saying? And Russell Smith said, to be honest, they can't afford that stadium with them still ass nacho chips. They really can't. And somebody in another Facebook group that I was in, they was saying basically, if the state of Mississippi and the city of Jackson made the contributions that they were supposed to make to like maintenance and renovations of the vet, like JSU wouldn't be in the hole the way they are. And that's understandable. But at the same token, like, JSU don't have the bread, that we thought they had. And I'm not gonna lie, like Adrian Crook, he another one. He been saying that for the longest. Like, man, JSU ain't got no money. So yeah, Scotty did talk about it, but Adrian Crook been talking about that for a while now. You know what I'm saying? How basically, JSU coaches ain't getting no money with the woo, your boy Jay said Jackson State has main character syndrome. The media is talking about Southern and Marshall Faulk, and now they can't stand it. Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, Adrian Cook. I mean, your boy Jay got me saying Adrian Cook. Your boy Jay, I'm not gonna lie. It kind of remind me of, this chick I used to date and used to talk to. You know what I'm saying? And she was the type of person, just say, hey, been together a while. I'm gonna get you a gift. You get me a gift. And she was the type of person, like, she wanted you to get her what she wanted. And then she would turn around and give you what you wanted. And like you say, it's the main character syndrome from the perspective of, like, hey, we the main character of everybody else's movie. Not only are we the main character of the SWAC movie, but the HBCU movie, but we the main character in everybody else's movie. It's like, come on, man. Like, hey, like Coach Faulk at Southern University is getting a lot of media attention. The enthusiasm around Southern University's football program is high. And basically, now that Southern University has brought in Coach Faulk, like the energy, the synergy, the vibes, the excitement around the program is back. And things are back to where they used to be. And, I talked about this recently, how, Willie Simmons, he at FIU, they got smacked in their bowl game, but he did his thing. Had he stayed at FAMU, would Jackson State, be the team that they were last year? Would it be as dominant as people say they were? And realistically, I think overall, the SWAC has kind of been weak the last couple of years. But what if the SWAC, had more parity and they were more competitive across the board? Because I'm going to keep it a buck. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to hide it. I'm not going to lie about it. To me, this is like the worst. This past season, like, as a conference across the board, this is the worst I could ever remember the SWAC being. So if the SWAC improves across the board in terms of, Southern is better, PV, they brought in Tremaine Jackson, FAMU brought in Quinn Gray. If teams are better across the SWAC and the SWAC as a whole is a strong conference and, it's a tougher conference to be in, like, if you're the top dog, like, shouldn't you invite that level of competition? Because I'm not going to lie, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, when in my coaching career, most of the teams I coached, I'm not even going to lie, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Most of the teams were bad. But when I did have good teams in either middle school football or middle school basketball, like, I wanted all the smoke. And to me, if y'all Jackson State and y'all everything y'all say y'all are in terms of a football program, like, you should invite competition. You should be with the smoke, and you should feel like TC Taylor is going to put the program back to where it was last year, and you should invite and embrace, Marshall Faulk coming into the SWAC, and you should embrace, Quinn Gray coming back to FAMU as the head coach now. Like, you should embrace these type of challenges, and you should think, hey, yeah, guess what? JSU, we're going to beat JSU, and we're going to do our thing and woo-the-woo-the-woo. But I'm not getting those vibes. The vibes I'm getting is, hey, we kind of liked it the way it was, and we just want to beat up on everybody else in the SWAC. I mean, I don't want – if Coach Faulk can get Southern back to where Southern used to be and elevate the program, and the program is in an exalted place, truthfully speaking, I want the rest of the SWAC to be strong. So when he gets in the SWAC play and gets in the HBCU play and they run the table and they win the Celebration Bowl, I can say, guess what? They didn't beat up on a bunch of bottom feeder, low-tier teams. They beat up on a bunch of dogs, you know what I'm saying? And they earned their stripes, and every week was a dog fight, but they ran the table in SWAC play, and they ran the table in HBCU football in general, and that's the kind of vibes I would want for my program, All right, going back into more people in the chat. Russell Smith, so what happened to all that money from the Dion days when the vet was sold out? Yeah, I mean, all the issues they having with the vet in terms of the stadium itself, evidently, because of that, they like $1 million in the hole from what I'm understanding. I don't know how true it is, but either way, like, the vet is an issue. I mean, they got other issues besides that, but basically that stadium and not getting like contributions from the city of Jackson and not getting contributions from the state of Mississippi and them having to dump all that money in it. From what I'm understanding, that's like the root cause of a lot of their financial issues. But I mean, it is what it is. DC DCPSU Jag say part of Dion's deal was that he would get a cut of the gate as part of his salary. Yeah, and from what I'm understanding, they didn't uphold that aspect of it either. Based on this love, I don't know if it was a documentary or whatever I saw. Like basically, he was saying every time, they had to come and say, hey, this is the amount of attendance. Evidently, anything over 30,000 or 35,000 or whatever it was, he was supposed to get a cut of that. But evidently, they always lowballed the figure, so evidently he didn't get a cut of that. And he claimed that was the part of the reason why he left and went to Colorado. From a SWAC perspective, I'ma just keep it a buck. Yeah, probably in 2025, GSU is our biggest rival, and I understand that. But I didn't like the way he left. I would just prefer him say, "Hey, like I'm moving on to greener pastures. Like the University of Colorado University is offering me a better opportunity to make more money, with the woo, whatever, whatever." But him saying some of the stuff he said, but the city of Jackson, whatever, whatever, and GSU and this, that, and the third on his way out, like, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I'm not even gonna lie. I mean, don't get me wrong. I won't beat the brakes off of GSU, but they like family. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I could talk bad about my family members, but damn it, you can't talk bad about them, and that's how I feel. You know what I'm saying? Uh, Russell Smith said the SWAC is weak right now. Coach SU is down, FAMU down, GSU. But he said of all of them schools playing at the top tier of their game, GSU wouldn't dominate. Oh no, that's kind of the point I was making. I kind of feel like they're content with like beating up on the rest of the teams in the weak SWAC conference. You know, I don't think they really want the smoke like they claim they want it. Your boy Jay said Coach Faulk hired this elite staff, and the best thing Terrence Graves could give us was his best friend, Mr. Inside Zone himself, Mark Frederick. Graves was stealing money, basically. Yeah, and while we talking about Graves, Graves, he on social media again, like belly aching, whining and crying, and I'm gonna get to him in a minute. Like, yeah, like he kind of rubbing me the wrong way. Uh, your boy Jay said that's exactly why I said Coach Falk could win year one. A quarter of the teams are bottom feeders. That's 5 to 6 wins easy. All he needs to do is use the portal correctly. See, that's why I was pumping the brakes, your boy G, because of course, especially after this past spring, I was so high on the team when I went to the spring game, and of course, I got a lot of clips here on my channel of the spring game this past spring. A lot of those guys that were on the team in the spring didn't even make it to the fall. You know what I'm saying? I talked about like people like Xavier Warrell, Jamari Jones. Those individuals didn't even make it. They didn't even make it to the fall. And in addition to that, like they didn't even come close to living up to expectations. I picked them to win the West and the SWAC. They only won 2 games. So, and not only that, but a lot of the players that were on the team last year, they're currently on the team. Your boy G, it's gonna be interesting to see how much of this team is he gonna retain, how much of them, how much of this roster is he gonna purge? Is he gonna bring back half the roster? Is he gonna bring back? Because right now he has a ridiculous amount of players that was on the team this past year that's still on the roster. It's gonna be interesting to see how he plays that. You know what I'm saying? Adrian Cook said they can't give him that. Yeah, I guess not. Derek Banks said undercount. Yeah, that's what they did. Derek Banks. Like they intentionally, like just say they got 50,000 in attendance, right? And he needs to cross that 30,000 like mark to get a cut. And they will say they got 29,999 people. It's like, yeah, Uh, Adrian Cook, he said, yeah, this ain't a prime SWAC. It's not. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Don't get me wrong. there were years where the SWAC, was top heavy with a few teams. Then after you got past maybe like a handful of teams, it was like a drop off. But I'm not gonna lie, like this is like the weakest SWAC I think I've seen in my life. You know what I'm saying? I mean, don't get me wrong. You had years where like Southern was dominant, Grambling was dominant, so on and so forth. Fred McNair, who they retained on the staff, uh, when he did his thing, you know, 2018, 2019, but still in all, like this SWAC is just like garbage. You know what I'm saying? Uh, DC PSU plug say Graves literally lost his job over Frederick. And that's the thing about it. They were gonna get rid of him anyway. But the fact that they was gonna at least keep him to the end of the year, but you lie to the athletic director and Roman Banks, you lied to the fan base and said that you promoted Fred McNair to the co-offensive coordinator and he gonna be the play caller. And I wouldn't even lie, Adrian Crook called it spot on immediately. He was like, man, that's still Mark Frederick calling them same garbage, lousy plays. And I'm like, man, Crook, he said he made Fred McNair the play caller. Man, Crook was like, no, man, hey, it's the same guy calling these same garbage plays. He like, I'm telling you, that's Mark Frederick. And sure enough, I ain't gonna lie, Crook was spot on. Man, hey, that was Mark Frederick the whole time. And that's the reason why they got rid of him. You know what I'm saying? Derek Banks said a good quarterback. Yeah, evidently, supposedly he's supposed to be like targeting certain quarterbacks in a portal, but the same thing about it, from what I'm understanding, like I think 3 or 4 quarterbacks from last year is returning. I mean, of course, you got Ted coming from saying, "Oh, I want him." I would keep Dylan Compton, but what about Jalen Woods with all his concussion issues? What about Cameron McCoy? What about Ashton Straughter? Like, max, you need about 4 quarterbacks max. You don't need ridiculous amount of quarterbacks. So he definitely need to get, somebody in there, you know what I'm saying? But it's gonna be interesting to see. He said, "Oh, I have a lot I want to say about Graves. That man caused me emotional distress." But this is my issue though, your boy Jay. In fact, let me address it now. Like this dude is on social media, like crying like he sweat. I'm like, bro, like you were bad as a head coach this season. Southern as a team was historically bad. This is the worst Southern University defense I've seen in my entire life. And you bellyaching, you moaning, you complaining on social media, basically saying that, Jaguar. He didn't say specifically Jaguar Nation, but he was like, and I'm paraphrasing what he said. He was like, basically, when you can't do nothing for people anymore, like they don't care about you. So basically, he was insinuating they was using him. I don't know who he's talking about in particular, and he playing his victim card. Woe is me, this cry me a river crap, and he was like, hey, he gonna be elevated, he gonna be exalted, that type of thing. And it's like I'm a deeply religious type of guy myself, but in this context, it is misplaced. For you to act like Southern University did you wrong, Southern University fan base did you wrong, and basically you've been discarded like some old trash. Like, dude, as a coach, you were terrible. You wasn't fired because it was anything personal. I done said this on a few occasions on my channel. And the irony is everybody that I know that have met him face to face personally, they always talk about he's a very nice guy. He a great guy. He a first class guy. Like they speak glowingly and highly of him. And evidently he is a strong Christian man. Cool. But dude, you got fired because this was a historically bad team. You were terrible at recruiting from an X's and O's standpoint. Uh, you was a trash head coach. You had your garbage friend as your offensive coordinator. He was trash and he was garbage. You lied to the fan base and said he wasn't going to be calling plays no more. for you to continue to have him as the offensive coordinator and continue to have him as the play caller. It's like, dude, everything you could do wrong this season, you did. Now, don't get me wrong. There are a lot of injuries, but minus all the injuries, this still was a historically bad team and a terrible roster that you constructed and you put together. Nobody could take the blame except for Terrence Graves himself. So for him to be acting like he the victim, like the law gonna elevate him, and you know, once people can't use him no more, they don't have no use for you, and they are discarding him. I don't know if he's jealous of what the university is doing, how they move forward with Marshall Faulk, and how things are on the up and up, and the future looks bright for Southern University. Or what, I don't know what the issue is, but either way, like you playing this victim card and you acting like they did you dirty and this type of thing. Like, dude, knock it off. Be a man. Like, quit playing this victim card, bro. Like, I'm not gonna lie, bro. This dude aggravate me with that. He make me sick. It's like, come on, bro. Russell Smith said Gray's belly aching caused him to eat too much because he ate too much. Gray's only job was to win, and he couldn't do that. Don't complain now. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, bro. Like, you were historically bad as a coach. This was a historically bad Southern University football team. They did not win not one single game at A.W. Mumford Stadium, Peterson Field this season. And for you to act like you some kind of victim, dude, shut up, knock it off. You know what I'm saying? Derek Banks said Southern need a QB they can win. Well, I'm not gonna lie. They need an elite level quarterback. That's the first thing they need, Derek Banks. But it's not the only thing. They need a lot. They need an elite level quarterback. They need some dogs up front on both sides of the ball on the offensive and defensive line. You need just some dynamic skill players. So they need a lot. Like, just a quarterback. You know, Tony Clayton said this Saturday on the Carlos Brown show, like, he was like, if you're a SWAC team, you have an elite level quarterback and an elite level kicker and an elite level punter, you can win the SWAC championship. Dude, those three things alone is not going to get you over the top. Even if you take Andrew Body this past season and you put him on Southern, and you take Graham the kicker and you put him on Southern, those two guys alone is not going to get you over the top in the SWAC. I'm sorry. Now, don't get me wrong. Having the elite level quarterback like a Dre Joseph or Eric Randall, Quincy Richard, like those guys, yeah, they help, but you got to have everything in place to go with it. You know what I'm saying? Eric Randall had some great running backs like, Mel Williams Jr., Lindsey Scott Sr. He had some savage defenses. He's had some savage offensive lines. So they had everything. If you just get you an elite level quarterback, elite level kicker, elite level punter, and put him on this Southern team this past season, it might get you a couple extra games, but you're not winning the SWAC with just that. So they need that, but they need a lot of other stuff. Russell Smith said, GSU been lying since the 90s on attendance. I'm at the vet field corner to corner, and they announced attendance is 40,000. Well, I'm not going to lie. Back then, I remember when we went to the vet 95, and that was the only game Southern lost that year. I kid you not. The vet was completely packed, like full to capacity. And then on our west side, on the Southern University side of the vet, they literally had people sitting all on the steps from, that bottom section is a reserve section. And that on the west side, that top section is general admission. So it's pretty much first come, first serve. That whole general admission section was full. And you literally had people sitting on the steps, like on both, like, just say you got a step, you walking up the step to the general admission section. You got one person sitting on one side of the step, another person sitting on the other side of the step, and you had to walk up the middle. I sat, with Senior and Mama brought myself and Kate to that game. We sat at the top of the reserve section on the 50-yard line. And once you got past that very top of that reserve section and you got to the general admission section, man, them people at the top, they couldn't even use the bathroom if they had a certain seat, because guess what? If you want to use the bathroom, you lost that seat. So, especially that general admission section, it was packed to capacity. Not only were all of those seats full, but you literally had people sitting all in the aisle, like 2 people on each step. Man, you cannot tell me they didn't have more than 50,000 people in attendance at that game. So at the end of the day, yeah, I'm not gonna lie. You right, Russell Smith, they've been lining up attendance for years. So all right, I don't know why I skipped. Hold on, let me see. Y'all, they talking about Cameron McCoy. Your boy JC, we have 2 coming when the portal open. Yeah, he said 2 elite level quarterbacks. They keep saying 2. I don't know who the 2 are. Andrew Cook said Cameron McCoy can play wide receiver. Derek Banks said Cam in the Wildcat. No, I'm not gonna lie, with the go-go offense, it's already gonna be run heavy, but you're gonna need somebody that can pass the ball and keep the defense honest. You gotta have a balanced approach. Russell Smith said SU shouldn't convert McCoy to, he said they should convert McCoy to wide receiver. Yeah, I didn't play wide receiver. Adrian Cook said he got P5 running that same defense. Yeah, hey, I'm not gonna lie. Crook, Blackwater Bayou, I met him. Salute to Blackwater Bayou. I met him and his pops at the first game at the P. Richardson Classic when Southern played against Alabama State and Andrew Biden and crew came to AW. I remember when he first hired him. The first thing Blackwater Bayou, he was the first person in the chat, like in the video, he was like, man, that was a terrible hire. He was a terrible defensive coordinator. How is he going to be a good head coach? And I'm like, come on, man, y'all, let's give him time. But I mean, I wouldn't even lie. Most of the people were like, yeah, we're going to give him a chance. But a handful of people immediately was like, man, this dude was a trash defensive coordinator. And guess what? They was like, he going to be a trash head coach. I kid you not. Blackwater Bayou was the first person to say it. Bunch of other people said it. But, shout out to him. He was the first person to say it. DCPSU plug said, turn Cameron McCoy into Taysom Hill. Yeah, I wouldn't be mad with that. Adrian Cook said, we look like the bad news bears. Big facts. I'm not going to lie. This was a historically bad defense. The worst Southern University defense I've seen in my entire life. Like, sad, bro. Russell Smith said, there ain't no difference between Mitchell, Dooley, and Graves. Graves got run off because he was trash, just like the others. I feel you. I agree with you. Big facts. Adrian Cook said, James Cozy too. Oh, yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Willie Simmons left that program in great shape. And for you to just take it and run it in the ground, it's like, bro, come on, bro. Your boy JC, let's not forget Graves called himself a winner, and he only won as a position coach. He sucked as a coordinator and sucked as a head coach. Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie. And another thing, Jay Gill was like, man, you've been coaching in the SWAC for all of these years. And for that to be your first opportunity as a head coach, he was like, that in itself was an indictment on this dude really wasn't fit to be a head coach. You know what I'm saying? He was like, at best, all he was a position coach. It's like you trying to take a boxer that's mediocre and bottom tier, and you trying to stick him in there. You give him a title shot. You stick him in there with the heavyweight champion. Whoever the undisputed champion that weight division is, and he get knocked out. And, basically he showed what he was. He was a position coach. He was never fit to be a coordinator. He was never fit to be a head coach. So I agree. Derek Banks, 5630 said kicker. Yeah, I ain't lying. Nathan Zimmer, he was a true freshman. I understand that, but he left a lot to be desired as a kicker. DCP SU Jack, any updates on Trey Holly legal situation? From what I'm understanding, his court date still is in April, so it's no update. I think they dropped one of the charges, but he still had the two worst charges were still pending. Your boy Jay said Andrew Body wouldn't have lasted 2 games at Southern under Graves and Freddie. Oh, big facts. Big facts. So, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, we already talked about him being injury prone, but with that terrible offensive line, he would have got hurt long before he did. And your boy just said the same thing. He said apparently his court date is in April. Yeah. And I'm not gonna lie, the state of Louisiana is synonymous for that. If they know you're not guilty, or they realize you're not guilty, instead of just dropping the charges, like they give you court date after court date after court date after court date after court date, then after all of these court dates, then they drop the charges or they put you in some type of pretrial intervention program or some foolishness or some nonsense. But they shouldn't even put him in a pretrial intervention program if the grand jury didn't even indict him. They'll tell you everything you need to know. You know what I'm saying? DCPSU Plus say they pushed his court date back again. It was set to start this month. Shaking my head. No, yeah, from what I understood, they pushed it back to April. Derek Banks say D and O line needs plus depth. Yeah. Big facts. Like, I'm not gonna even lie. Like, this was the worst. This was the worst defensive line I can remember coming through Southern, probably ever, but definitely in a long time. And that's including with having like probably your second best defensive end I've seen in my lifetime from the Pete Richardson era to now in terms of Kelvin Givens. Even with Givens, like, this was a terrible defensive line. Adrian Cook said in 95 that was at least 75K. Oh no, I'm not gonna lie. I said they announced what 48, 49, 50,000 Adrian Cook. And I said it was at least 60,000. But if you saying it was 75,000, oh yeah, I definitely would believe it. It was feasible. Because just think about it. That top section that was strictly general admission, all of that was full. Like, completely at capacity. Like, I saw two chicks. One chick was sitting on the other chick. I'm like, damn. But for every step leading all the way up to the top of the vet, you had two people sitting on each step. I mean, you had people sitting all in an aisle way. Like, one person sat on one side of the step and the other person sat on the other side of the step. And this was all the way up to the top. So for them to say, man, it's like 49, 50,000, I'm like, man, that's a damn lie. So yeah, they definitely been lying for attendance for a long time. Teacher Man said, Cam might actually, he said he might be actually good with better play calls. Nah, I don't see it. I mean, think about it, Teacher Man. Like, the play calling was better in the Bayou Classic. He still went 6 of 18. Like, we know he a very good runner, but he not a quarterback though. Like, that's why I say he was Sean McCray 2.0. Your boy G said, I'll never forget in the 2000s game in Jackson, them people ran out of every drink, and it was damn near 90 degrees out there. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. After that 95 experience, I'm like, I'm not gonna lie, your boy G. I am not claustrophobic. But in 95 in the vet, I felt like I was suffocating. And then it didn't help the fact that we was driving home. We all got in the van and went to sleep. And Senior went to sleep behind the wheel. Mama was like, oh, that was a good nap. He said, me too. She said, I'm not going back to sleep. Russell Smith said, I'm pretty sure Tony Clayton will have Trey Holly straight. He will be okay. Yeah, I believe so too. Your boy Adrian Cook said, I've never seen a vet like that again. Oh no, never. I have not seen a vet like that since then. Because truthfully speaking, I'm like, man, hey, bro. After that 95 experience, like, I felt like I was suffocating. And I'm not gonna even lie, even like, going to Spinks Chasm Stadium in Alcorn, in Lorman, right? They don't have a track, and you feel closer to the field without the track. But even with that being said, like, you don't feel, even when it's packed, you don't feel like, hey man, we like sardines in a can up in here. That 95 game at the vet, man, I'm not gonna lie, it was packed. Russell Smith said, I was in the vet for 95. That game was crazy. He said we sat 2 hours in traffic trying to get on 55. Oh yeah, I'm not gonna even lie, Russell Smith. Senior asked mama. I done told this story a couple times on this channel. Senior told mom, he's like, hey, babe, you want to get a hotel room? So like, oh no, huh? She was like, I want to go home. Like, let's go home. Like, the kids get in the van, we going home. And he said, all right then. So we got down 55. I don't know. I'm assuming we took 55 home. I would assume. But anyway, we get a good piece up the highway. And she was like, oh, that's a good nap. That was a good nap. And he said, yeah, me too. She was like, oh, Lord. You sleep behind the wheel, we up in here. She was like, I am not going back to sleep. So, yeah, I'm not going to lie. Aside from being packed like sardines in a can, the main thing I remember was him falling asleep behind the wheel. Your boy J say Zimmer and fam better not be mediocre. This is not grades. They will not accept mediocrity. Well, I'm not going to lie. I think Kenny Lee Fam was a senior. Even if he wasn't a senior, it's time for Kenny Lee Fam to get the hell on. If he was that guy, he still would have been at Alcorn. And truthfully speaking, they should have left him at Alcorn. Or left him in the port or whatever, because bringing him to Southern was a terrible idea. Now, at least Nathan Zimmer, you could say he was a true freshman. He has time to grow and be like a Ruben Beauplans, to make a Ruben Beauplans type quantum leap. But Kenny Lee Fam, and Kenny Lee Fam, man, hey, he left a lot to be desired as a punter. Adrian Cook said, we left a Breck football game and drove straight to the Vet 95 LOL. Ooh, I'm not gonna lie. Boy, hey, when you're young, you can do stuff like that. Man, at my age, I would dream of doing nothing like that. Adrian Cook. Man, straight from a Breck game to the Vet. Woo! And I'm not gonna even lie. Man, hey, like I said, we was packed like sardines in a can in that thing. Adrian Cook, he said, where you played Breck ball at Bel Air? Well, Breck is like Pop Warner Little League. Adrian Cook went to Baker High. So I mean, I don't know what Breck team he played for. If I answer that question, he said Memorial Stadium. All right. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Every time you pass there, Olympia, all right, and Olympia, yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sad that you passed by Memorial Stadium, man. You got all kind of calls all over the place for them Breck games. I said, God, dog. All right, he said he played for the South Baton Rouge Rams and he played for the Bandits. All right. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. The thing I can stand as a coach. Oh, Derek Banks said I coached the Bandits. All right. Well, I'm not gonna lie. I couldn't stand as a coach in EBR when I used to have good players. Like my last elite level would have been running back. He played for the Rams. At the time, they couldn't play Breck and play for EBR middle school. As soon as I stopped being a head coach in EBR, now they could play for the middle school team and play for Breck. And I'm like, what? And then on top of that, guess what? They don't even need grades. I'm like, man, what are y'all doing, bro? You don't need grades and you can play for Breck and EBR. I mean, I got so many. Russell Smith said, we played Breck at Bel Air. We did the same drive from Breck game to Jackson. Woo! Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I would try that, especially not at this point, not at my age right now. TJ Man said he played for the Baton Rouge Raiders. All right. Adrian Cook said my pop coached the Bandits back in the day. All right. Derek Banks said correct. Adrian Cook said facts. Your boy Jay said going back and looking at them old clips from playing in Jackson. He said, I hope we can reach that level again. Graves and Dude, they almost killed it. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, this past season, the program was on life support, but bringing in Marshall Faulk, it has brought in a new level of excitement. I'm definitely excited for the upcoming season. He said, Coach, I hit 186 solid and couldn't make make that with anymore. Now I'm not gonna lie. Hey, some of the stuff I did back in the gap, Adrian Crook, at this point in life, man, I wouldn't even try. Uh, Adrian Crook, he said, "Yeah, my pop coach is Eric. All right." Derek Banks said, "I know your father Crook. All right, all right." He said, "For real, Banks, yeah, yeah." I'm not gonna lie, like at least they they saw the error in their ways and they quit doing business the way they've been doing it from the perspective of that good old boy network nonsense, the nepotism, the favoritism, all the tisms. You scratch my back, I scratch your back. If they kept operating the way they were operating, like the program was going, it was on life support, but hey, at least they got it going in the right direction with Coach Faulk. Definitely got a hellified coaching staff. Now let's see what they do in the portal. If they could do their thing in the portal, yeah, I'm gonna be thoroughly impressed. But more than anything, I'm looking. Now I know Tony Clayton talked about the naming rights thing, so it's gonna be interesting to see uh, if they could get the naming rights situation squared away before this coming season. Is it gonna be A.W. Mumford Stadium at American Airlines or something? American Airlines Stadium in honor of A.W. Mumford. I want to see how they're going to play the naming rights situation. But, they're definitely leaving money on the table. But, you know, he said they're going to figure out a way to, you know, sell a naming rights to one of these big corporations and still honor A.W. Mumford. Of course, they talked about how, it's already Pete Richardson Field, so you can't make it A.W. Mumford and Pete Richardson Field in whatever stadium. So they're definitely gonna have to do something with the whole naming rights situation. But hopefully, they get that squared away. Adrian Cook said, I remember when the Bandits tipped the scale on me when I was around Elroy. He said I was the running back. Yes, indeed. Your boy Jay said, Coach, what are your expectations for the portal opening on Friday? He said, what's the main thing you want Coach Faulk to get? You already talked about the two elite level quarterbacks. That's the first thing. First thing is you need two elite level quarterbacks. I'm not a fan of playing two quarterbacks at the same time, but if they both dog enough or they like have extremely contrasting styles and they're both highly effective, you know. And not only that, but we saw what happened with Grambling. We saw what happened with Alabama State. We saw what happened with Jackson State. You need to have depth at the quarterback position. So bringing in two elite level guys, I wouldn't be mad at that. But the problem is, if they have the same classification, I mean, if you got one that's like we're gonna say like a junior, and we got one that's a grad senior, yeah, that'll be cool. But if they're the same classification like Woods and T-Set was, you're gonna lose one of them eventually anyway. But yeah, they definitely need an elite level, a couple elite level quarterbacks. Then you need some like Jerry Jones, even though I can't stand the Cowboys. You need some war daddies. You need some some slop hogs up front in the middle. You need some dogs like Kelby Gibbons. And you just need some, dogs on that offensive line. Some people like Chatari Carter and Dallas Black and Jeremiah Stafford and Damon Nivens. You need some dogs up front on that line. You know what I'm saying? Even though Nivens really didn't light the world on fire is an offensive line coach, as a player, he was that dude. You know what I'm saying? uh, Cook said he was at 186 in break. Dang, man, Cook. I didn't get to be 186 until my senior year at Assumption. Dang, Crook. He said, I used to weigh and like I was a boxer behind the top. Man, Crook. Man, I didn't get to be 186 until my senior year at Assumption. Dang, Crook. And I see why you was running over the boys. God, dog. Derek Banks said, Cook, I remember you. All right, all right. Uh, Cook said, yeah, Banks, the good old days. LOL. All right. Derek Banks, 5630 say, a bandit for life. All right, all right. Teacher Man say, I hope they address linebackers, cornerbacks, and defensive linemen in the portal. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be honest with you. Outside of Herman Bristol III and Eric Reed Jr., man, I wouldn't bring nobody back on the defense, to be truthful. Like, the defense was just terrible. I see why this was the worst Southern University defense I've seen in my entire life. Like, the defense just was terrible. He said, Coach, we need a good tight end. We do not use that position enough. Also, some good cover corners that want to play 10 yards off the ball. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. You know, you want some guys that can cover, that won't play 10 yards off the ball, that is accurate. Because I'm tired of seeing them, like Crook was saying, play all this cover three, play all of this off cover one, play all this cover three off. It's like, come on, bro. Like, I know you're responsible for a third of the field, but man, there was so many games this season where it's third and 10, whatever and 10, and the DB way off, and he would just run down the field, turn around the sticks, and just turn around and catch the ball. It's like, come on, bro. Like you said, you need somebody that could get out there and play press coverage, bump and run, man to man, and do your thing. You know what I'm saying? Crook said, Banks for sure. He said that's what made me come back, that black and red, and why I went to Baker. LOL. All right, all right. Russell Smith, he said, Coach, I might have missed it. He said, what's the status on Fred McNair? Oh, Fred McNair, as of right now, he's gonna be on the staff next year. They plan on retaining him. But Carlos Brown also talked about that too. Basically, was saying if another SWAC job come open, like an elevated position, like I guess he'd take that. If one of these D2 head coaching jobs come open and they try to talk to McNair, I guess he would take that. But at least at Southern, he got some security. So yeah, they did retain Fred McNair. Now, what role and capacity is he gonna be in? I don't know, but I do know, they kept him. Derek Banks said, he said, yeah, your dad was a great person. All right. Man, Crook said, I was 195 my freshman year at Baker. Damn, Crook. Crook. I didn't get to be 195 until I was done playing football and I was a freshman at Southern. Man, my senior year, he said he was 186 playing break. Man, I was 190 my senior year at Assumption. Dang, Crook. He said, yeah, Banks, I miss him. Yeah. Floyd Luster, 80, 82-15. Hi, salute to you, Floyd Luster. Derek Banks said, so rebuild a whole defense. Yep, I'll rebuild a whole defense because this defense was historically bad. Like I said, if it was me, outside of Herman Bristol III and Eric Reed Jr., like I wouldn't bring none of them defensive players back. A couple of them defense backs already hit the portal anyway, you know what I'm saying? Desmond Allen said, Cook, I was smaller than 195 my freshman year, Southern. For real, I'm not gonna lie. Hey, I didn't get to be 195 until my freshman year at Southern. So dang, bro. Uh, your boy J said, I'm reading LSU portal class if I'm Coach Faulk. 70% of the team is in a portal. Yeah, a lot of them in a portal because, of course, you transitioning coaches. Now the fact that they got Lane Kiffin, so yeah, they definitely gonna raid that portal. I think it's a possibility. I think the issue is a lot of those guys They probably won't go to another Power 4, Power 5 PWI. They probably won't go to another big name school. Uh, you know, some of them might try to go to Ole Miss. Some of them might try to go somewhere else in the SEC. Some of them, might try to go wherever. But I'm sure Kiffin gonna try to keep some of them. But the vast majority of them players in the portal. Crook said, he said, Allen, I left Baker at 235. Damn. Man, he was 235 when he left Baker. God. Desmond Allen said, damn, Crook, yeah, for real. Man. He was 186 and he played break. And then after that, 186 he played break. It was not 195 his freshman year. I was there my senior year, and when he left Baker High and went to Southern to play ball, he was 235. Damn, Crook. Crook said, Allen, I trucked everyone. Hell yeah, I'm sure you did. Hell, Brad Hill wasn't even 235 when he left Assumption. Damn. Russell Smith said, your boy J, you are 100% correct about trying to get some LSU players. Yeah. Man, salute to my brother Desmond Allen. He said, salute my guy, Coach 7, man. Salute to your fam. Desmond Allen said, I was 170 at Southern, quick and fast. Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I didn't get to be, he said he was 186 as a playing break. Man, I didn't get to be 186 till like summer going into my senior year Assumption. I got the 190 my senior year. And I was offensive lineman and Crook was a running back. Damn. Crook said, he said, yeah, Coach, that clip you saw, I was 235. Yeah, and that's the thing about it. Even Brad Hill, when we was at Assumption, he didn't get to be like he got to be like, 220? He didn't get to be like 235 until he hit Grambling. But then he started, getting bigger, big, quick, fast, and in a hurry. Derek Banks said, LSU have like 16 players in the portal. All right. So I'm not gonna lie, that's gonna be an interesting thing. If he could get some of them LSU players, I mean, I think that's gonna be big. That's gonna be huge. You know what I'm saying? So getting some of them LSU players, but more than anything, like if you could just get some dominant dogs. I mean, talking to a lot of those recruits that committed to Southern, that's gonna be on the yard, on the bluff. I was impressed with the way they talk, the way they carried themselves. I think they're gonna be impact players, especially that punt and kick returner. Man, I ain't gonna lie, that boy there, I think he could be like an Israel Landry, Fred Bailey, Kenyatta Sparks, like elite level punt and kick returner, Willie Quinn. I think he could be that guy. So if he can bring in some dogs, especially up front, both sides of the ball, get your punter, get your kicker, and just get some dynamic skill players. Oh yeah, hey, we're gonna be the Eat next year. You know what I'm saying? Desmond Allen said, "Yep, at least 1/4 of LSU players in the transfer portal." Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. Like, I know, they transitioning coaches. That's the reason why they got so many players in the portal. But your boy Jay bring an interesting point up. Like, how many of those players are Marshall Faulk gonna pursue? Is Coach Faulk gonna pursue a handful of them? Is he gonna pursue a bunch of them? So it's gonna be interesting to see. And not only that, but is he gonna just look nationally to get certain players? How many players he gonna get his own backyard? I mean, they've already recruited nationally. They definitely hit Chicago hard. So it's just gonna be interesting to see how things play out. You know what I'm saying? But I'm getting ready to go get me something to eat. Man, I appreciate everybody that came through, for a trip down memory lane. Everybody that came through and check out this latest edition of the Tailgate Party. Of course, you already know I'm gonna be back Saturday. I don't know if we're gonna do Bayou Sports Talk or we're just gonna do just a random Southern University live stream. But either way, you know, I'm gonna be back this weekend. Desmond Allen said Marshall Faulk is a quiet assassin. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like he is doing his thing. He definitely doing his thing. You know what I'm saying? Allen said 5A and 4A football was different back then. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, Crook. You know, with that select league crap and all of that crap they done since then, I kind of feel like they watered it down. But of course, 5A and 4A is still big boy football, but I feel like they diluted it and they watered it down. And I mean, you had people like, don't get me wrong. I know part of that was due to, you know, teams like Evangel Christian and John Curtis. But as far as I was concerned, if you'd have put Curtis in 5A back then, man, Curtis wouldn't have been that dominant. Anyway, yeah, all them state championships Curtis had back then. Don't get me wrong, you know, Curtis, you know, they historically a powerhouse, but if they'd have been playing 5A back then, man, they would have been dominant. I mean, of course, Crook, I don't think it's gonna ever go back to where it used to be, but I like the way they had it back then, you know. And all of those teams that's recruiting all them players, whatever, just stick them in 5A. I promise you they ain't doing all that, you know what I'm saying? Appreciate you, Derek Banks. He said, thank you, coach. Desmond Allen said, yep, Crook it was. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, they done diluted it, you know what I'm saying? Uh Crook said, I used to like going linebackers out, not killing linebackers cool. Man, at that size, Crook, I'm sure you was like knocking a lot of linebackers out cold. Crook said, I had beef with all linebackers. Hell, I imagine you did, Crook. But yeah, but that's it for this live stream. I appreciate everybody that came through, that showed some love. I'll catch y'all Saturday. Y'all have a blessed and phenomenal evening. Peace and blessings to the family. And go Jags, you dig?